Welcome to Storytime with Cozy Mauka, where we gather to share tales about responsibility, courage, and honesty. As we come together, let's put on our listening ears as we're transported into amazing stories. For this episode, we'll be learning about bravery versus injustice as we continue our tale about that clever rogue, Robin Hood, and his merry men. So without further ado, let's find a cozy spot, grab a friend, and let's enjoy a great story. Chapter 4, Little John's Quarterstaff. Robin Hood drove out from Nottingham, knowing that he must take his men deep into Sherwood, since Guy of Gisborne was coming to capture them, and knowing, too, that any man who might kill him and get 40 marks, a fortune in those days for the killing. But he whistled blithely enough as he drove along, and Sherwood was safety, as he knew, and he had anticipated being outlawed when he left Locksley Farm for Abbot Hugo to take back. When he had got back his own clothes from the potter and handed over the horse and cart, he bade Will Scarlet lead his men back to their hiding place in the forest, and taking his bow and his sword he had captured from Guy of Gisborne, set out alone for a look at his lands of Locksley. He reached them to mid-afternoon, to see that Guy's men were already sowing the barley he had hoped to sow, for spring was advancing fast now, and the trees had begun to put on their spring coats. Again, as he watched and thought of the price set on his head, he renewed in his heart the promise he had made to Guy that the abbot should pay in full for the farm, as he should all fat abbots and great men who thrived on the poverty of others. Henceforth the greenwood must be his home, he knew, and he could never go back to Locksley. He turned back and made his way along a little track that would lead him to his band. This track took him down a wooded slope to a stream, across which a felled tree made a footbridge. As he neared the bridge from his side of the stream, a great tall man came out to it from the other side. The tall man carried nothing but a big quarterstaff of oak, and he hurried, as did Robin, to be first to get back to the bridge. Each of them set foot on it at the same time, and neither would draw back. "Out," said the giant. "Out, little man, and make way for me, unless you want a duckling in the stream." "Not so fast," said Robin, "or I will do the duckling myself, and leave you with a wet coat." The great man swung his heavy quarterstaff within a foot of Robin's nose. "Get back," he shouted, "before I hurt you." But Robin, at the swing of the great staff, laid an arrow on his bowstring, at which the big man raised his staff threateningly. "Dare but attempt to draw that string, and his staff shall crack your skull," he threatened. "Why, fool," said Robin contemptuously, "this arrow would be through your heart before the staff could reach me." The giant dropped his staff and leaned on it as he stood on the bridge. "Now this is a coward facing me, for I have no bow," he said. "If I had, I could teach you how to shoot an arrow." "No, coward I," Robin retorted. "Had I such a staff as that, I would teach you more about quarter play than you could ever teach me of archery." "Go and cut a staff then," said the giant, "for there are plenty about. I will wait here, and we will fight on the bridge. The one who thwacks the other into the stream shall have right to cross first." "Now this is a good fighting man," said Robin, "and one I like. Wait here, and mind my bow for me, big fellow." He put down his bow and quiver on the bridge, while the giant sat down with a grin on his face, having found a fighter like himself. Then with his hunting knife Robin cut himself a great staff, trimmed it to his liking, and returned, at which the giant stood up, and the fight began. From the attitude of his opponent, the giant could see that he had no easy task, and he began cautiously feeling his way to find what Robin knew of quarterstaff play. He soon found out, for in less than a minute Robin gave him a thwack across the shoulders that shook him into a rage, and after that they guarded and parried each other's blows till the great staves hummed, and the giant, skillfully evading the blows aimed at him, fairly danced on the bridge until he nearly danced himself into the water. "Keep at it, Bantam," he roared. "The lesson has only just begun. Good guard, but I am only just warming to it. Look to your head." A whizzing blow just shaved Robin's ear, and he retained with a thwack that the giant caught on his staff, so the two staves rattled together as Robin gave back at pace. Then he leapt in the air as the giant tried to sweep his feet from under him, and by this time the two of them were panting for breath, for the play was fast and furious. "Truce," Robin called, and stepped back. The giant leaned on his staff, puffing for breath. "I was about to call him in myself," he gasped. "But by my soul, a right good fight this, but I will never give way to let you cross the bridge." "Have at it then," said Robin, and they set to it again. Parry and thrust and blow gave neither the advantage of time, but then Robin caught the giant another mighty buffet which he came down on his head, and would have broken the skull of a weaker man. "Take that," said Robin, "and let me cross the bridge." "Never," roared the big man, and twirling his great staff he came on again. Playing skillfully in spite of the buzzing in his head after Robin's blow, he parried another like it and gave Robin a mighty thwack, which made him lose his foothold and tumbled him into the stream with a great splash. Now, said the big man gleefully, I crossed the bridge first, but where are you gone? Here, swimming with the stream, Robin answered from the water as he caught at the log bridge and drew himself up. The giant leaned down and gave him a hand, roaring with laughter at his dripping figure. Then they sat down on the bridge together. Giant, said Robin, never met I such a fighter with the staff. I yield you best at it. 'Twas a joyous fight, said the giant, and I would might meet such a fighter every day, but good men are scarce. We will have a match with the bow some day, when I find you dry, but at a target, not at each other. Willingly, Robin answered, but how do they call you, big man? As a rule, said the giant, they call me too late for a good meal, and I am so often hungry, but my name is John of Mansfield, since I come from that village. And what do you do here in the forest? Robin pursued. Hide, said John. I was Ralph of Mansfield's man, and one morning I slept too late. Ralph is a cruel master, and he ordered me 40 lashes for my sleep. But I took the whip and stunned the man that should have laid them on, and so there was not for me but to flee. So, said Robin, here's another like Guy of Gisborne. John laughed. As like a pea to another pea, he agreed. They say that a man named Robin took Guy and tied him facing his horse's tail and took to the forest after being outlawed. They say that, do they? Robin asked, smiling. Aye, and this same Robin took a band and spoiled the fat prior of Newark not long after. A right good man he must be, one after my own heart, and I would join with him if I could. For what purpose? Robin asked. I would put my hand in his and be his man, said John. For look you, Archer, I will give no man best with the quarterstaff, but a man may not earn his living by play with the staff alone, and this forest is an uneasy place if one has no companions. Put your hand in mine, then, Robin said, and held out his hand. The giant stared at him. Come, said Robin, there is yet a keg at the Prior of Newark's wine left in our lodgings, and good white bread to go with the venison, and I think Will Scarlet shot a boar yesterday, succulent pork, John with the cracking done to a turn. You are this Robin? John asked amazed. Robin laughed. And a wanting good man, he answered. Say, you tiny little man, how shall it be? Will you put your hand in mine and join with me now the chance is here? Willingly, and now, said John. The crackling of the pork decides me, if nothing else would. And that keg, Robin, let us away to where you keep these good things and drink to each other's health, for you being all wet outside must be dry within after a great fight. And mayhap, may we have finished the pork, there will be a half haunch of venison or thereabouts as a snack for me. A half haunch? Robin echoed. Man, would you keep my men hunting both day and night to feed you full? Good Robin, if I come to be your man, I will earn my keep, said John. Trust me for that. Robin nodded gravely. There will be time for that, for Guy of Gisborne comes with a band of men to scour the forest for me before a week is out, he said. It will be no life of ease, I warn you. Give me a good bow and feed me well, said John, and I will draw a string with your best against Guy and his men. But let us away, Robin, for the crackling of the pork draws me most mightily. Then let us go, little John of Mansfield, Robin agreed, for we have a full mile to trudge to where that cracking lies, and you being but a man and a half in size, and maybe 3 men in appetite, we will name you Little John. So they went on, and Robin's men gave their new comrade a good welcome. When Robin had told them of the fight on the bridge and laughed at his own discomfiture at the game of quarterstaff, and this was one of the qualities that made him dear to his followers, that he could take a beating in good part and recognize all the skill of the man who beat him, bearing no malice. There were then in Sherwood scores of masterless men like John of Mansfield, and when they heard how Robin had spoiled the Prior of Newark, they sought him out with a view to joining him. But he would take only the best and most skilful at arms, and these he made swear to follow the rules he had given to his 9 men from Locksley. Even so, he had many more than 9 when Guy of Gisborne came hunting them in Sherwood. His band was not yet at full strength, to which it grew later, nor was his fame great, but men heard of what he had done to Guy of Gisborne and the Prior, and there were few who thought it worth while to try for the 40 marks set as price on his head. Thank you for joining us for Storytime with Cozy Mauka. We'd love for you to share with our friends what you learned from tonight's tale. Join us next time for the continuing adventures of Robin Hood.